Alright, so something massive just happened in the space of AI. Basically, the US government has officially restricted GPT 5.6 from coming out, and this might actually be the beginning of the end for AI development. Here's the full story, the main implications, and everything you need to know about what is going on. To break it down, the US government will now dictate exactly who gets access to GPT 5.6. OpenAI is being forced to release GPT 5.6 only in a limited preview, restricted to a very small group of partners. Sam Altman actually told his staff that the government will be approving access, customer by customer. That means the government is only going to allow people it personally deems safe to access the model. On top of that, the US Commerce Secretary personally called Altman, directly warning him not to launch without approvals from other federal agencies. This is absolutely massive in terms of how it chokes the development rate of frontier AI. Let me read out the news in a bit more detail so you can see the full picture. Reports are basically saying that for AI companies on the verge of releasing cutting-edge models, there is a new normal in the wake of the administration's standoff with Anthropic in recent weeks. On Wednesday, for example, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman informed staff during a Q&A session that the company would release its latest model, GPT 5.6, in a limited preview to a small group of partners. The company's biggest rival, Anthropic, followed a very similar course back in April with Mythos, a new model with powerful cybersecurity capabilities that it shared only with select partners, rather than opening it up to the public. And the reason for this staggered, restricted release, Sam Altman explained that the federal government asked them to do it. Altman stated that complying was the best path forward to widely release the model as soon as possible, but in his Thursday memo, he dropped the bombshell. The government will be approving access customer by customer during this entire GPT 5.6 preview period. Now, the most alarming part here isn't just that the government is forcing these models into a gated preview mode to test for safety, it's the fact that they are approving access customer by customer. If you read between the lines, this strongly implies the government will require some form of strict US citizen identity verification before allowing anyone to touch this frontier model. So if you are not in the US, very soon you might not even be allowed to access the best new AI models on the market. That is going to be a devastating problem for millions of developers and users, especially those in Europe and other parts of the world. As you can imagine, the public reaction to this has been fascinating, to say the least, and people are furious. Many are pointing out that the US government is actively destroying the American AI industry. This isn't just a fringe opinion. Massive AI-focused accounts are sounding the alarm. For example, the account MindBridge, which has over 40,000 followers, making it a highly respected voice in the AI space, posted that the US government is going to destroy the American AI industry, citing OpenAI's confirmation about the GPT 5.6 limited preview and the customer-by-customer government approval. Anthropic users are also suffering heavily from this. Fable 5 and Mythos were suspended entirely 2 weeks ago, and they still haven't come back online. This is a wild situation for the community, since most of us, myself included, thought Fable 5 would be back up within a week. This is the very first time the federal government has intervened this aggressively in the consumer AI space regarding a frontier model. Yes, we had some AI regulations in the past, but they were never this restrictive, and this time it's the everyday consumers getting hit the hardest. But here is the main overarching problem. China is currently accelerating its AI development at breakneck speed. The development of GLM 5.2 and Kimi K 2.7, which are some of the absolute best state-of-the-art models out of China, are completely open source, and they are incredibly capable. If the US slows down its own AI development this drastically with red tape, China has a very real chance of overtaking the United States in the AI race. In the middle of all this, the community is heavily pointing fingers at Anthropic. People are blaming them for the current situation with both Fable 5 and GPT 5.6. The general consensus right now is that Anthropic's ultimate dream is coming true. Governments are tightening their grip on AI, turning it into a gated privilege reserved strictly for approved citizens. As one user put it, "Buy GP us like your future depends on it," meaning open source AI running on your own hardware is now the only safe future. This whole situation is incredibly frustrating because if it wasn't for the relentless fear-mongering from the CEO of Anthropic, none of this would have likely happened. I completely understand that current models are powerful, but let's be real, they are nowhere near powerful enough to pose an existential threat to cybersecurity. Even Fable 5 wouldn't be a cybersecurity threat. The model was specifically designed with heavy guardrails, so it outright refuses to answer dangerous questions or generate malicious code. It simply does not make sense to slap this level of extreme restriction on an AI release. Going back to the customer-by-customer mandate, many people believe this is just a bureaucratic cover-up. The reality is that only people with US identification or US citizenship will be granted access to these frontier models built by American labs. That completely flips the game for anyone outside the USA, cutting them off entirely. Now, Sam Altman did try to do some damage control. In his Thursday memo, he said, "We have made clear to the US government that this is not our preferred long-term model, and we will work with them and others in the industry to achieve a much more sustainable approach for future releases." But here is the harsh truth. Even though Altman says this isn't their preferred method, their preference doesn't matter. If it becomes federal law that only US citizens can access US-made frontier models, no tech CEO will be able to do a single thing to stop it. They have to follow the law. And again, this isn't just my personal opinion. Across the internet, the overwhelming consensus is that we are in this mess primarily due to Anthropic's paranoia. They have heavily pushed the narrative that AI models are incredibly dangerous, which might have a tiny grain of truth, but it is wildly exaggerated compared to reality. Some people are even declaring that the AI winter is officially upon us. One user wrote, "Nothing will ever be the same. It is clear now. The return to normal went out for milk and never came back. We are entering a new world norm, which is essentially AGI for me, but nothing for thee." They are starting with staggered releases so that corporate oligarchs and government-approved elites get the absolute best models, while us plebeians just have to take whatever scraped-together, heavily censored models we can get and be happy with it. Only a select few will have the actually intelligent models. The rest of the world will be stuck with substandard, watered-down AI. That same user specifically gave a sarcastic special thanks to Dario Amodei, the CEO of Anthropic, for going on a media tour telling everyone they are building a weapon of mass destruction. By doing that, Dario handed highly destructive anti-AI Luddites all the sound bites and ammunition they needed to force these regulations. It's a continuous cycle with Anthropic. Every week or two, they launch an article or a video claiming AI is going to destroy humanity, comparing it to nuclear weapons. Even after creating Fable 5, they literally asked for a global AI pause so that nobody could leapfrog them and create a more advanced AI. If you constantly scream at the government that your product is going to destroy the world, obviously the government is going to regulate it into the ground. Now, everyday people like you and me are the ones suffering the consequences of their PR strategy, and Twitter completely agrees with this sentiment. A guy named Mark Kretschmann tweeted, "Without Dario's constant fear-mongering, none of this would have happened. Think about that." That tweet alone has over 1,500 likes on just 40,000 views, showing a massive engagement rate. People clearly resonate with this. Before I wrap up, there's one last rumor I want to completely debunk. Over the last few days, there was a ton of news circulating about Claude Fable 5 supposedly resurfacing in the iOS app. People genuinely thought it was coming back. There was even a viral video with over 500,000 views showing someone apparently using Claude 5 on their phone. I hate to break it to you, but that turned out to be completely false. Anyone who thought they had access to Fable 5 was just experiencing a UI error. An official Anthropic employee named Sam M. McAllister publicly clarified this, stating, "We are currently serving zero traffic to Fable 5. This would be a UI bug, so if you saw any hype about Claude 5 quietly returning, it's fake. It's just a visual bug in the code. As of right now, absolutely no one is able to use Fable 5, so it is clearly a very tense historic time in the age of AI. I want to hear your thoughts on this. Let me know what you think down in the comments. That is about it for today's video. I'll see you in the next one.